Arne Slot's men have travelled to West London this afternoon on a quest to continue this incredible unbeaten run away from home in the Premier League. When Liverpool made this trip last season, they recorded their biggest ever league victory at Brentford, and it was their first ever league double too. The same again today would do very nicely, wouldn't it? We have got all the build-up for you right up until kick-off in this game, and come 3 o'clock we've also got live audio commentary of the full match all right here for you on LFC TV. It is a warm welcome along to my guests Sammy Lee and Phil Babb alongside me today in the studio. Before we get started here, we're going to head right down to West London where Mark Benstead has got details of Liverpool's starting 11 for this afternoon. Mark.
Good afternoon, Becky. Welcome to the Gtech Stadium. The Reds have had it pretty good in the capital of late. The last 2 visits to London in the Premier League, they've scored 11 goals. And they could do with a repeat of that kind of form today because the results in midweek have made it a little tighter at the top of the Premier League table than it has been for a while. In terms of the squad news for today, well, it's mixed for the Reds, I have to say. No Diogo Jota, he's unavailable for this game, but Darwin Núñez is back after suspension, takes his place amongst the subs. In terms of the team then in forward, just one change from the midweek draw at Nottingham Forest. That comes at left back. Kostas Tsimikas is in. Andy Robertson is now on the substitutes bench. The team in full is Alisson Becker in goal. Then it's Virgil van Dijk, Ibu Konate, Luis Diaz, Dominic Szoboszlai and Alexis McAllister. Mohamed Salah is in from the off. He's just 2 goals off registering 20 league goals in a season for the club for the 5th time. Cody Gakpo starts, the aforementioned Kostas Tsimikas, Ryan Gravenberch and Trent Alexander-Arnold. On the bench, Kelleher, Endo, Núñez, Chiesa, Jones, Elliott, Robertson, Kwanzaa and Bradley. Nigel Spatman is with me for this one today. Nigel, good to see you. Well, I think first reaction is no Jota amongst the options there. That is a blow, isn't it? And a frustration for him again, just when he looks to be back and being a big option for us, we're denied his services once again.
Yeah, and really easing him back into the team, back into the squad, and you see how important he is coming off the bench and scoring that header with his first touch against Nottingham Forest to get a point. And you could have done with that luxury today, but you know, this time last year he came here and got a terrible injury which set him back anyway, set Liverpool back as well. But it's so important to have on the bench to bring on or start with, because I think he is probably the most natural finisher within the squad and we really could miss him today. But hopefully it gives other people an opportunity and they stand up to it today, because this is a massive game for Liverpool today. And
sometimes with the way that Brentford play, it can be at pace on the break. That sometimes can leave spaces to do likewise in return.
Yeah.
Darwin Núñez off the bench could be someone who can do that, and both Luis Diaz and Mohamed Salah can do that if we're looking at positives from the Liverpool point of view.
Absolutely, but we have to remember that Brentford have a great record here. It's the same as Liverpool have and the same as Arsenal have. I think it's 7 wins at home, so they're strong at home. They don't keep clean sheets, so I think there will be goals in this today. But it all depends if they're chasing the game like they had to do against Man City, 2-0 down midweek. They came back to draw 2-2. If they leave those spaces, who's going to be the one up front or somebody making the runs from midfield that are going to get those goals and give us an easy, or not an easy, but an easier win here today, because we need to take 3 points here today.
I was going to say, how much focus is there on winning today, given the slight tail-off in results of late? It is slight.
Yeah. Well, one loss in 31 games, yeah. But, you know, everybody tries to... If you're at the top and you've got that gap, everybody's trying to pile pressure on you, get into your heads, get into the psyche about it, even into the manager, into the supporters, and put that bit of doubt in your minds. Now, I think this group of players have been there, seen it. The manager has done that in obviously the Netherlands as well. He started the campaign in every competition so well. But this is one of those games today where you're expected to come to Brentford, one of the smaller clubs, and win. If you're going to win the title, and I think that's the pressure and the outside noise that hopefully we can block out. But Arsenal making all those noises because they got 3 points, we only got a point midweek, close that gap a little bit. We do have a game in hand, but the problem is when the games come thick and fast, as they do, we've got a Champions League game on Tuesday, then FA Cup and all this. It's that bit of the season where you've got to stand up and be counted, and a scruffy 1-0 win here is what it's all about. If you can get 3 points, I think it's imperative we get 3 points here today to shut people up outside of the club, not within.
looking at the game in midweek, it was another game where the manager turned to his bench for good effect. Well, really good effect on that occasion. Yeah. Instant impact from the subs. And that is important, isn't it, moving forward, that the guys, again, who were on the sidelines to begin with today could come on and make an impact. And Darwin Nunes, I mentioned him, Curtis Jones, that there are guys that, even though Jota's not available, who can still change a game if it's tight.
Absolutely, and the manager knows that. He's made some really good changes throughout the campaign so far, and they've had an impact. But I think that shows you the belief within the squad, and players aren't sulking. You can't sulk. It's a squad game now, and you want to all play in the big games. But when you get the chance to come off the bench, do what Jota did the other night, come off and score, and then, you know, that's, people can't ask questions of you. You go out there and show the right attitude, but come on and do it well. Don't try and come out there and impress people by doing step overs, nutmegs. It's about doing the simple things well and hopefully scoring the goals that you need to get 3 points here today. And I'm sure whoever comes off the bench, if needed, will put on a good display. And
just finally, that one change to the starting lineup is at full-back, in Costa Tsimikas coming in. Is that just these two are interchangeable now? Is that what we've seen this season?
Well, I think that Tsimikas is pushing Robbo for starting, and that's good to have. But I think sometimes the manager looks at the threat of the opposition and the games coming up, Champions League midweek at home to Lille, and maybe thinks players have got a slight knock, or he needs to change things a little bit because a player's very quick. You try and put someone against them. Maybe that's the thinking today, or it might just be that he thinks, yeah, I'll play one in this game, one in the next game. And that's what happens in modern day football, is you've got to be content with doing that sometimes. And people try and put pressure on you and say, well, you're not playing as well as you were. I think all these players are playing to their maximum at the moment, and sometimes when people need a rest, you bring somebody else in, give them the opportunity, and they can impress.
Great stuff, Nigel. Yeah, that is Liverpool's starting lineup for today. Details of the Brentford side a little bit later in the programme.
Thank you very much, lads. Welcome along to you two. Another big one. Feels like every game at the moment is a big one, doesn't it? Big ones all the way through until the end of the season, but it feels like a big performance is needed today, Phil.
I think so, certainly after the frustrations of the midweek game against Forest. We kept knocking at the door, didn't we? We just couldn't get the 3 points required. And as Tsimikas said there, they are big games. Everyone's looking to shoot you down, no more so than the smaller or the lesser clubs. No disrespect to Brentford, but yeah, they've been very, very good at home, so it will be tough regardless of who they put out today. We'll
speak in more detail about Forest in just a moment, Sammy, but the way Liverpool finished that game and that sort of final half hour, I suppose you could call it, that momentum is what we need to take into today, isn't it?
And I think, as the boys were saying, you've got to take positives out of every game, and for me that was the big positive. That we started bad, we'll talk about that coming up, but the way we finished and the chances we could have had, we should have won, but that's the positive I want to take. And as you hit momentum is key going to all these games. If you can build that momentum, and you talk about performances, I want the result today. Yeah. I want the result today, to be perfectly honest, because I think we get the result, the performance will be behind that. But for me, it's important that we get the 3 points to take that momentum into these coming weeks, which are crucial. Champions League midweek, and then the Premier game next week. So momentum after the result.
Yeah, it feels like that second half performance we saw against Forest was maybe the first time they'd almost been in kind of full flight since the West Ham away game almost, Phil, and that's what we need to see more of.
Yeah, I think with, you know, sitting at the top of the pile comes that little bit of tension. We've seen that, but let's not get away from the fact that we have been measured, a little bit more measured under Arne Slot than we were with Jurgen. We are a little bit more precise, and there was a little bit slower in build-up, at play. But that is by design. So that gung-ho, that thrust that we saw towards the end of the Forest game, we don't often see at the start. But yeah, I mean, you just feel a little bit of, OK, we're at the top, we're there to be shot down. This is what comes with being, again, top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League. Everyone's after you. So there does add a little bit of tension to your performances at times.
I'd rather be there.
Oh, absolutely. Let's not knock it.
No doubt about it. Let's get your thoughts on today's team. I think we can just refresh you of the starting 11 for Brentford this afternoon. We'll speak about someone who didn't start the last game, but everyone wanted him to be involved today. Diogo Jota, Sammy. Such a shame that, unfortunately, he's not in the squad today.
It's a great shame. We spoke about the impact that he can bring to the team prior to the midweek game against Forest. for us, and then lo and behold, he comes on, has the immediate impact, and it's concerning because, as I say to you, didn't play the full game. You wonder what the problem is, but he will be a big miss. But I think, as Spack has mentioned it before, it's a case of somebody stepping in now, and they'll have to, they get their opportunity. But potential, you need opportunities, and I think there's enough there to say, yeah, we'll go on, we can beat these today. It's going to be difficult, as Babsy said, because it's a difficult place to go. They're very well organised, very well coached. They love playing at home. It's a fortress for them. But we like going to places and turning them over, and I think we should have enough within that full squad to get the right result here. But again, I'm sure we'll come on to, we need to start right. I think we need to start off on the front foot, not give them the opportunity or the impetus, or get the crowd into the game. Start off bright, quell them, and then hopefully our quality will take over. That's what I'm hoping for, Bex, to be honest with you.
I think we all are. Obviously, the other talking point, if you like, is the one change from midweek, which is at left back. Kostas Tsimikas comes in for Andy Robertson. His delivery obviously was key on the other night, wasn't it? Absolutely.
I don't think it's any disrespect to Robbo. He's been a fantastic servant for us, and he still is. But Kostas offers something a little bit different, maybe a little bit more of aggression up against a tough opponent in Bueno today.
Bueno,
So maybe the gaffer's thinking of that. Obviously, Champions League next week as well, big important game for us as well. So, and I think Kostas deserves it. He's not let us down when he's played, and as you said, his quality could be key today.
Yeah, tough gig against Brian Mbeumo of Brentford this afternoon. Let's have a look at the Premier League table and how it stands at the moment. Liverpool, of course, have the opportunity to go 7 points clear with a win today, albeit maybe temporarily, before Arsenal kick off against Aston Villa a little bit later on tonight. Their win over Tottenham in the North London derby on Wednesday night, reducing that gap a little bit, Sammy. Liverpool, of course, do have that game in hand, we have to say, and a superior goal difference too. But that cushion has been whittled down a little bit in recent weeks, and we can't afford for it to get much more than that. You're
right, because as Babsy said before, the pressure mounts on the teams at the top. But again, bring it on. For me, it's got to start with today. And I repeat, sometimes you can look too far ahead, and I think we just got to make sure that we get the result today. Again, the performance will come alongside that. But I think you're right. They're tugging at our heels. Do what they want, but as I said before, I'd much prefer to be at the top than be fifth, fourth, fifth, or whatever, So, the pressure's there, but it's the type of pressure that you have every time you're at Liverpool Football Club.
OK, Forest, obviously, Phil, was at the most recent game. How do we assess this one now the dust has settled a little bit? Because obviously you see that final 30 minutes, if you like, and you're thinking, you're waiting almost for that moment, aren't you, that everyone thinks is coming, and that goal, and as you say, knocking down the door didn't quite manage to break down the door. But after a few days and you look at this, do you now look at it as a very hard-fought point at a really tough place to go?
Honestly, Becky, you have to think about how well... Forest aren't in the top four by fluke. They are well drilled. They've got a good squad mentality. They play for each other, but they're so hard to break down. And the amount of shots and attempts at goals that we had, on goal that we had, but we couldn't break down that barrier, says it all. Their defence, super robust. Their goalkeeper was brilliant. We'll talk about him. But it was in the end a very hard and well fought for point. Better to come away with a point than nothing, and we did that. And as we said, if the game had gone on, we had that momentum, we could have easily have won that game.
My opinion hasn't changed from the other night, to be honest with you, because I think it was a very well end point. We'll look at that at the end of the season, it'll be crucial for us. Don't forget, in the first game when we lost to them, they still only had 30% possession then at Anfield, so we knew what the game plan was going to be, and I just thought we reacted superbly in the second half. We should have won, but I think with hindsight you'll find out that'd be a very well and hard end point at a very difficult place to go to. Very difficult.
It was indeed. Very oppressive atmosphere, isn't it? It's, the home fans so passionate. You mentioned Matt Sells. Let's just take a look at some of the saves that he pulled off, because he was in outstanding form. I mean, he's obviously on track for the Golden Glove, and not difficult to see why when you look at some of these saves.
What a season. I only found out that he'd even played in the Premier League for Newcastle quite a few seasons ago. But terrific shot stopper. Really kept him in it and deserves a man of the match performance. It was unbelievable. That was Peter Schmeichel-esque, wasn't it? Spreading the body, all the keepers are doing there.
Yeah.
Big frame, but yeah, just really we tried and just couldn't get past him.
You got the impression if they played even just another 5 more minutes, Sammy, they would have found a way through. Some of the Forest players were virtually crawling off the pitch at the end. They were so exhausted.
And I have to say to you, the whole back five was superb, not just the keeper, because they were throwing the bodies in, making desperate cleanses, desperate blocks. But I agree with you. I think they look. It's the weariest I've seen a Forest side look all season. You know, and that's all credit to Liverpool. They kept on it and kept on plugging away. Unfortunately, we didn't happen to get the winning goal. But again, I repeat what I said before: a good, hard end point.
OK, thanks, lads. Time now to hear from Ryan Gravenberch. He remembers just how tough the trip to the Gtech was last season, and he says Liverpool have got to be at their best today to get a result.
Yeah, it will be a difficult game, of course. We knew also from last season it was not easy, and we have to give all. We have to start better than the game on Forest, and then I think we have a good chance to win the game.
In terms of this, sometimes starting slightly slowly, because that's been something that's mentioned in a few games this season. Why do you think that happens? And I guess it is something that the boss must speak to you about.
No, it's just the intensity what we give. I think also when we look it back, it's just the intensity in pressing, in make the deep runs, etc. It's just that, and we have to give that always from the start, and then it will change for sure.
They've got two of the most clinical forwards in the Premier League as well, in Brian and Wemo and Johan Wissa. So how do you go about defending against such a dynamic duo that they are?
I think it's just what we always do, because they are really good attackers, but I think if you see, for example, Forest, they're also really good attackers. So I think we have to do our own thing as always.
A win would take you 7 points clear, albeit maybe temporarily till Arsenal play a little bit later. But it's been a little bit of a tough January, and the gap's slightly reduced a little bit. How important is it now to get back to winning ways in the Premier League and pick up that momentum again?
Yeah, for us it's important because you always want to win, and always you want to keep the distance as well. So Saturday is an important game for us, and we will show that we can win this game, and hopefully we can walk away with the 3 points.
We're a few days on now from what was a pretty epic battle in Forest, wasn't it? It felt like you guys and them, to be fair, left everything out on that pitch that night. How do you reflect on that a few days on now the dust has settled a little bit?
I think we didn't start really well. We gave them a chance away, and then they scored directly. So you come 1-0 behind, and then we know before we went there it will be a really difficult game. And when you come 1-0 behind, it's difficult. But I think in the second half we gave everything, and we created a lot of chances, but we didn't finish them. And that was a bit disappointed. But I think we played a really good second half.
So in terms of that second half performance then, as you say, obviously the momentum maybe that you can take from that, even though it wasn't 3 points that you wanted, is that energy that you showed in that second 45 important to carry on through to the weekend now?
I think 100%, because we gave everything in the second half. We created a lot of chances. We didn't finish them, but we created them. And against we have Brentford on the weekend, and then we have to show again, but then from the start.
In terms of yourself, so we're halfway through this Premier League season now, and you look at the stats, you're third in the squad in terms of minutes played. You're first on distance covered in Premier League games. Obviously, a lot more games to come. So how do you stay at the very top of your game when you're right in the middle of probably what could turn out to be the busiest season of your career so far?
Just want to give everything when I'm on the pitch. I want to show myself every day, and also, I just look good after my body as well, in terms of recovery. I do everything, so I'm really happy with the minutes that I have now, and the terms of what I can show myself to everyone.
In terms of, I guess, the adrenaline that you feel, the hunger of the, that desire for success and being still in 4 competitions at the moment, does that help give you that extra 10%, if you like?
Yeah, of course, because at the end you want to win titles, So you want to give everything, and at the end the titles will decide at the end of the season. So you have to stay fit and give everything for that period.
He's having an outstanding season so far, isn't he, Ryan Gravenberch? To go back to what he was saying at the start, Phil, about the slow starts, he says he knows this is something they've got to get a grip of, and they've got to show more intensity right from the off. And again, we need to see that today, especially with the formidable home form that Brentford have got.
I get what he's saying, but I also think you've got to pick your battles as well. So you can't go show that intensity. The desire's always there. As soon as you pull on the red shirt, it's got to be there. That's the first thing. You're committed to the cause. So as soon as that whistle goes, you're up for it. So I think the intensity is there. But I also think, as I said earlier, I think there's a game plan of being a little bit cautious. Don't high press too much. We are going to just grow into the game. It's a game of chess sometimes with the new gaffer. And it's been successful. So I know that we want, as fans, we want that high intensity, we want that style of football, but sometimes you just have to pick your battles correctly.
Do you know, Beck, as well, if you remember rightly the other day, we had 3 chances before they scored the goal. We didn't start out
it wasn't really a bad start, was it? I think the early goal makes it look like it was.
Well, it was their first attack, if you remember. So that's the concern for me. And you hear me say it every time I'm on here, Becky, about this clean sheet malarkey, I'll tell you. But, we had 3 shots just prior to them scoring. My concern is that we're conceding goals for whatever reason we're conceding, and that's not just the back 4, back 5. It's the whole team. We have to defend better as a team, I believe. And when he mentions intensity, I think that's when he's talking about that. It's not about going gung ho. It's about when the pressure's on, go and press together. Because that game the other night, 3 shots, 7 minutes. They had 3 passes, and it's in the back of our net. That concerns me as a coach, So, and I'm sure it concerns them, and they'll be looking to address that.
Yeah, I think that's the worry, isn't it? Because as you say, it's always been kind of under Arne Slot, they've felt games out a little bit more, but the defence in recent weeks has become a little bit more porous, and we can't afford for that to continue, really.
Well, it has been. As you say, for a number of weeks, but we've had changes. 1 minute Jarrell's in there, 1 minute we had Joey, we've lost him to injury, now Ibu's back, so the one consistent thing we have in there is Virgil, who's playing very, very well, but he can't do it all himself. So as a unit, that includes the goalkeeper as well, they have to, and they will do, the senior players will have a word about it. You don't want to concede goals. It's in their DNA not to, so it hurts them. So they will be stung by that midweek, and they'll try and correct that today and make sure that they try not to concede today.
Well, obviously, midway through the season, is fatigue at this stage of a campaign, does that start to become a consideration?
I'd rather not talk about that.
That's fine.
I wouldn't be. No, what I mean is that there's plenty of football to be played, so we can't really be talking about that. I have to say to you, talk about fatigue, the people at the bottom of the league, they'll feel more tired than us, at the top.
Sure.
What it is, it's just, there's a number of reasons why it's happening, and they'll be looking to address that. But forgive me, I didn't mean to cut you short by saying that. I'd rather not use fatigue as a reason or an excuse, because there's a lot of football to be played, and we're talking about fatigue in January, then it's a bit of an issue. That's why we need the whole squad and everybody. And I think Sparker's mentioned it before. The good thing about it was when they're called upon, they have an impact, and that's what they're not feeling sorry for themselves. When introduced, they come and have an impact. That's why you have strength and depth, and that's what we're going to need for the coming games, because it's a big programme. Which, as we said the other day, it's the hardest league in the world.
Yeah, I'm sure there's no question of fatigue, but especially when you're fighting across 4 competitions, and you can see what is the reward at the end of it. That pushes you across the line, surely.
It should do, and without coming to the subject of January and transfers, an addition perhaps could give the boost that we need to push on those 4 fronts if we've been a little bit more quality in.
OK, thanks, guys. That is all from us for this part. And it is time, actually, to say goodbye now to our viewers on social. If you do want to stay with us, though, visit liverpoolfc.com/watch for details right now on how you can sign up to LFC TV. After this break, we are going to continue with more build-up. We'll hear from Arne Slot in his pre-match press conference too. Then at 3 o'clock, we've got live audio commentary from Steve Hunter, and Neil Mellett is alongside him this week. Then at 5, we are back with a post-match reaction. And if you miss any of that post-match content, you can catch up later on this evening with the Reaction podcast. Then tomorrow at 6 o'clock, we've got the full match replay available for you on LFC TV. Then on Monday, you can get an exclusive look behind the scenes when our latest episode of Inside drops on Facebook and YouTube. Now we're going to take a quick break and we're back with more build-up shortly. Liverpool taking on Brentford in West London. Arne Slot's side 1 goal shy of recording 50 against the Bees in all competitions. Brentford, meanwhile, have not kept a single clean sheet at home all season. Back in a couple of minutes.